Today we're going to look at independent clauses. This will help you with your grammar, especially with using commas and also semicolons. But I have mentioned this in other videos on semicolons and on coordinating and subordinating conjunctions, and another video called the comma, so please watch those videos. But today we're just going to focus on clauses. So an independent clause is one which can stand on its own. It makes sense without the subordinating clause. If there is a subordinating clause in the sentence, you can just put a full stop on its end and it's fine. It's a good sentence. So an independent clause must have a subject and a verb. Now, a subordinate clause can't stand on its own. It's sometimes called a dependent clause, sometimes called a subordinate clause, and it can't stand on its own. It modifies the main clause, or it modifies a noun in the main clause, or maybe it modifies the whole clause, but it modifies the main clause, so it can't stand on its own. Very often it also contains a subject and a verb. Not always, because sometimes it might contain no subject, or the subject might be the verb in a gerund form, something like that, a participle clause. So it's not always, it doesn't always have the subject and verb like the main clause does. Now, we'll look at dependent and subordinate clauses in the next class. In this class, I just want to look at how we join two independent clauses, and we call this a compound sentence. Now, there are four ways we can join two independent clauses, so we're not going to talk about dependent clauses. Now, number one, I've spoken about before. It's a coordinating conjunction. This is the first independent clause. He went to the shop. Now notice we can put a full stop there and it makes perfect sense. He went to the shop. You're not waiting for any more information. And we join it to I went home. And the way we join those two independent clauses is with one of our coordinating conjunctions, of which there are 7. You can remember them using this memory aid, fanboys, but you may just remember them like this anyway. And the main ones really are and, but, and or. Some of the other ones are not quite so common nowadays, but they still are used. You still read them, certainly. But these are the coordinating conjunctions, which means they can join two independent clauses. There are many other conjunctions which are subordinating conjunctions, and that means they can only make dependent clauses. But these all can join two independent clauses. Okay? Now, there's not just coordinating conjunctions we can use. We can also use correlative conjunctions. So I've put some up here in this box. They're not all of them. If you want a list of all the correlating conjunctions, please, you can find them online if you have a little look. Well, you can find a lot of them anyway. There are loads. But either, or, neither, nor, we can join two independent clauses in these dots, yeah, in this ellipsis. We can actually put an independent clause on each side. Same with not, but, both, and, not only, but also, whether, or, no sooner than. Now, some of these you may notice from, if you've been following my lessons, some of these I mentioned in inversion, where I spoke about negative adverbials invert the auxiliary and the subject, and that's even true for nor, one of the coordinating conjunctions. We would say nor would I, nor do I, nor should I. We would definitely use inversion after that negative conjunction. So please remember that we often invert subject and auxiliary verb when we use, for example, this one, this one, this one. Notice it's all the negative ones. This one, and this one too. So that's something to remember. Inversion is very common in these forms, in these correlative conjunctions. So I've given you a couple of examples. The more I talk, comma, the more I lose my voice. So with this one, with this phrase, the, where we show a relationship between the two independent clauses, you must have a comma. However, we don't use a comma down here. Not only was I happy, note the inversion, not I was, but was I. Not only was I happy, but also I was proud. Now, I think we very often miss out certain words. We don't always repeat the subject here, so we may miss out this and say, not only was I happy, but also proud. So it's not always necessary to have this subject mentioned twice. Okay, so this is another way we can join two independent clauses. And you can see the independent clauses there, or there, and here. The more I talk, the more I lose my voice. Okay, another way you can join two independent clauses is with conjunctive adverbs. I've tried to give a list here of conjunctive adverbs, but there are plenty more. If you're interested, please have a look online and you'll find a large list. But therefore, consequently, nevertheless, for example, namely, moreover, furthermore, however, meanwhile. These are all words you're familiar with. Now, we can... the way we join two independent clauses when we use a conjunctive adverb is we just put it in between the two independent clauses. I've never been to France. I plan to go one day. And we put it in with a semicolon before it and a comma after it. And then the two clauses are connected. Okay? So that's another way we can join two independent clauses. The last way is a simple way with a semicolon. If they can join with one of these coordinating conjunctions, we can just get rid of the coordinating conjunction, which in this sentence would perhaps be and, get rid of the and, get rid of the comma, put a semicolon there, and then it works. My town is on the coast, semicolon, the beach is very pretty. Or we can say my town is on the coast, comma, and the beach is very pretty. Both of them work. Okay, so that's just an introduction to clauses. It's going to get much more complicated, and it should help create nice, clear sentences which are unambiguous, because I'm going to do a lot more on the dependent clauses, subordinate clauses, and on much more complex sentences. Okay, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them under the video, and I hope to see you all soon.